Hey guys, my name's Coda Bringer, and this is my community health plan for Scott's Addition in Richmond, Virginia. So Richmond is a diversely populated city made up of an eclectic blend of neighborhoods, such as the one I live in, Scott's Addition. There are definitely different parts that make Richmond great as a whole city, but there are also weaknesses as well. Because of the population density being so high in Richmond, there are a number of underserved communities as well as inequities in the availability of resources in education and healthcare. Because public health is so directly intertwined with the health of each individual, these social determinants are definitely impacting the health of the community, and changes are definitely needing to be made to improve the health of Richmond as a whole. As I just said, there is a strong relationship between health and environment, and assessing the community you live in is important to improving the health of those who live there. So Scott's Addition, being near a large college campus in Richmond, Virginia, VC or Virginia Commonwealth University, the neighborhood really reflects that. A lot of bars, coffee shops, restaurants, which all make for a great place to live if you're in college, but for new families or families that have settled down, there are no hospitals within these small borders of Scott's Addition. No health clinics. There are in Richmond, but they're a drive away. No restaurants, anything like that. Just mostly recreational activities. So during the windshield survey, as I said, there's definitely a lack of healthcare within the district lines. No grocery stores would definitely be considered a food desert. And then a lack of education and health style, starting from an early age here. You don't really see kids out exercising. There's not a lot of parks, which is really sad. Most of the foods available aren't healthy options. A lot of fast food restaurants, just not affordable and or forward thinking for keeping healthy and making sure we're not enlisting bad behaviors or unhealthy behaviors in children starting at an early age. Thinking forward, if we could fix these issues starting with kids in elementary school, middle school, early high school, and really instill a sense of what we should be doing to make sure we're healthier when we're older, to help decrease our chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and obesity, leading to more diseases such as kidney failure. We would really save the hospitals and the amount of patients going in with comorbidities that don't do very well. So research has shown that only 30% of Richmond's population exercises on a regular basis. That's Richmond as a whole. Scott's Addition is much lower. Because no one's receiving the exercise they need, they're ever at increased risk for hypertension, stroke, heart disease, diabetes, and even some forms of cancer. Obesity as a whole has increased alarmingly due to the lack of the nutrition and lack of physical exercise, just sedentary lifestyles, not getting up, not going outside. These are all really, really important things we need to be doing to help combat the obesity epidemic. Feeling better, eating better, just all things that need to be considered. But individual factors, not being able to afford the healthier foods, not knowing what to do. Education is huge here. You need to make sure that you know what you're doing so you don't injure yourself, and etc. So for my community project, I partnered with the YMCA. We implemented new ideas. So they already hosted camps that were for children that focused more on just like recreational activities. So instead we went along a different route, and we really wanted to focus on physical activity and making sure the kids were eating healthy and not your normal like run-of-the-mill cheeseburgers and like french fries for camp food, things that would be affordable to make, things like that. But the YMCA definitely was a great partnership. They gave us the area we needed to perform this, and then work together with camp counselors that like volunteered, which I played a part as, with the camp owner that had already been running it for a while. Stephanie was awesome, making sure we had whatever we needed, and then setting us up for success all there. Using my clinical background as a nurse, I have friends that work in hospitals, dietitians, that were able to give me ideas and like ways to like make sure kids would continue to eat healthy, and that they weren't options that they would never do again when they went home. Same with physical therapy from the hospital, just making sure they're stretching, increasing mobility, making sure to avoid injuries so that they're not furthering their sedentary lifestyles because they had an injury. I have a lot of friends that are personal trainers. I'm actually a certified yoga instructor, so things like that were just really important in making sure that we planned for success for these children, and just making sure that they had a good time, but making sure to educate them so they know how to do what we were explaining, and then we're performing in front of them, and then they would follow cue, and then we could, the number of counselors could intervene or give tips or help them out if they were struggling. So like I was saying before, so we had a number of collegiate runners who volunteered their time to help us counselors. They stayed there with us throughout the week. I think it was just good for them to see that these people were successful college students who worked out 3 to 4 times a week, could have a social life, and just like getting to know them and like what drove them, and I think that was just like good for them, and having them there to ask questions on like a more personal level. The kids got to know these counselors over the week, and it was really cool to see like how they interacted, and just like how they respected the counselors, but also how they respected the journey of getting to where you needed to be. We were actually fortunate enough to have a local shoe shop who sent an ambassador to us to talk about the different kinds of shoes that you could do while you were running, what kind of like stride you had, if you were a heel striker, things like that were really important for making sure you were wearing proper footwear. We even had an ambassador from Hoka, the running company, come and just set up like a bunch of fun little things that the kids to do, but she brought pairs of shoes for each of the campers, and it was just an awesome experience to see like their eyes light up knowing that Hoka is such a big company, and there could be a future there for them if that was something they decided, or even if it was just something they continue to do as exercise, or something that they find peaceful or some therapeutic form, where they were still getting outside and going and exercising. So obviously the health diagnosis would be risk for obesity secondary to unhealthy eating and sedentary lifestyles starting at an early age. I definitely wanted to focus on adolescence here. Mostly not that when you get old you can't change your ways, but if we can prevent it from happening, giving primary prevention, educating, making sure they have the resources, setting them up for success, it'll be much easier than trying to treat all these things once they already have it. Like treating hypertension is easier when you don't have hypertension. You can prevent it. Healthy exercising, making sure your heart is strong. Diabetes, if you were the obesity, just the problems that come along with just with being severely overweight, and if we could just prevent that, we could prevent so many comorbidities that we see people experiencing now in our population. So just making sure that they have like an understanding, and it's different when you like see it up close and you're able to, you have friends who are 21 and reaching 450 pounds. I think it's just it's very eye-opening. So I proposed and participated in a distance running camp, as long as like physical other exercises, for a week, where we did guided runs with counselors, and the owner of the camp did lessons on nutrition, healthy eating habits, had the kids cook with us, making sure they were eating healthily during their time there. We definitely fostered the ability for them to work together, just because anywhere in life, teamwork is so very important, and making sure you get along with who you're staying with is equally as important. And just making sure they were having a good time, but also showing them that being healthy can be second nature. You don't have to. You wake up. We went for a run. we finished, we had breakfast, everyone was laughing, joking around. We did wellness checks, making sure the kids were feeling okay. I used my expertise as a nurse there, just making sure that no one was feeling, no one was hurt. If anyone did have any issues, sit down, help with the best of my ability, giving advice on what things they could do, using information we got from the physical therapist, stretches and such. Having them on call was great for them. And then I think, like I said just before, like addressing the underlying issues of why these adolescents are having these unhealthy habits, and just making sure we can educate them, educate on the importance of making sure you're living a healthy lifestyle. It's not an unachievable goal to work out 4 days a week moderately. You don't need to be a marathoner, but just making sure you're getting that physical exercise, just even 30 minutes 3 times a week can decrease your chances for obesity, decrease your likelihood of developing hypertension, things like that. And just making sure we're having a good time, but also getting the work in while we were there. So interventions for the community were to exercise, to create exercises and running plans that have been created or modified based on the level of the participants. Just making sure everyone was like on the same page. We weren't letting people fall behind. We weren't letting people get too far ahead. We just wanted to make sure everyone was like kind of sticking along the path there, making sure that the food we were making was healthy, dietary issues. A lot of planning went into making sure that everyone could eat what was being offered and making sure that it was healthy and that the kids would want to eat it. So just a lot of planning and making sure it was friendly but also doable. So like when they leave here, it's not something they'll never make again. It's something easy that they can put together and feel good about doing it. Kind of continuing off of that, things to do's and don'ts. Cutting stuff out of your diet 100% never works, but like moderation is key for a lot of these things. And then like we talked about before, having experts, all of the assets we used in the community, our partnerships, just to make sure that we were teaching these kids exactly what they needed to know, resources they wouldn't have otherwise. So just making sure that we're doing what we can, and then obviously making sure the kids have fun. So our objectives would be the participants would demonstrate understanding our proper running form, exercise form, things like that, teaching us back healthy food options to maintain adequate nutrition, healthy food options they would enjoy, and how to make them. Obviously participating and learning the strength exercises and training that we did throughout the week. I think all the kids really enjoyed it. It wasn't extreme. It was very much doable, and I think they realized after the first few days that it was just something that was like fun. You can make it a game, working with the people that you get to know, having a partner, having someone hold you accountable, all good ideas. I put maintaining a BMI just so it was something calculatable. For kids, it's probably not going to be that, or adolescents probably won't be that high, but just making sure it's in a range where they're considered healthy. But I think most importantly is making sure they reach their own personal goals, right? We started the camp, we set them note cards, and they were able to set a goal for a short, medium, and long range. So the short one would be like something you wanted to accomplish by the end of the week that you weren't able to do before, and then a mid-range, 4 months, 6 months, something you'd want to accomplish, and then in a year's time, something you want to accomplish, and then just making sure we're keeping up with that. I think I talk about that in the evaluation, just following up with them, being like, did you meet your goals? What would you do differently? And like just really holding them accountable on how, what they could do differently, and then honestly, just like making sure you're being there and counseling them and like giving advice, and just like being able to give them the information they're looking for that they wouldn't have access to any other way. And then of course expressing their feelings, especially with the pandemic. This was particularly tricky, but making sure we were like following COVID guidelines and making sure that they were expressing how they were feeling, nausea, headache, cough, fever, body aches, more so than your normal just soreness from running. So we did that every morning, making sure all the kids in the camp were feeling good, feeling okay, making sure getting them excited, staying plenty hydrated, water, making sure Gatorade was readily available if they needed it, and stuff like that. So the evaluation, kind of we just talked about, just making sure, just checking in with them. as far as like scientifically, if they wanted to go on a scale, that's all possible, but just making sure they're actually like hitting their goals, writing down what they were doing, like 30 minutes of exercise today. Most of our long runs were in the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and that was anywhere from 60 minutes to 90 minutes, so an hour and a half. You don't have to run the entire time, just setting a goal and pace for yourself. And those were 3 of the middle ones, but just making sure that they were feeling good, keeping them in high morale, and then obviously offering counseling to evaluate if they were if they met their goals and like what we could do differently next time. Also following up with them, making sure they were able to reach their goals, and also making sure they were using the like tools and stuff we were giving them, and that they were able to take what we taught them and take it home and hopefully educate someone else. Because what is it? See one, teach one, do one, or do one, see one, do one, teach one. So kind of like following that, making sure they're taking what they learned and passing it on to other people, and hopefully letting the cycle continue to where people will feel empowered to go out and make sure they're getting this exercise, and hopefully in the future avoiding these long hospital stays for these comorbidities for these patients. That primary prevention is obviously important and key to making sure we are saving ourselves from the hospital time and the complications that could arise, and just overall poor health in the future if we're not careful. So I guess the summary of this was, by encouraging children at this age in their life to become accustomed to regular exercise, eating better, and healthier life decisions, we can begin to fight the obesity epidemic that is sweeping our nation, and therefore the complications that arise with obesity as well. I just think like monetarily wise, and the amount of money that's spent from like insurance companies on all these comorbidities that could have been completely eradicated or mostly eradicated if we had just been better about exercising more and eating healthier and getting off the couch. And I think just we as a society have become so fixed on our gizmos and gadgets that make it easier for us to not go out and do the things that we used to do. And just seeing the increase in the obesity rates, just trying to fight that at an early age, because those numbers are going to drop if we start implementing plans and starting early and making sure that kids are getting the exercise they need. And it's never too late. But starting early is always better, and just making sure we can hit this on the head hard, and really like drive it home that this is an important thing that needs to be taken seriously to just to like expand our future. Your life expectancy is dropping the heavier we get, and it's just baffling that just taking the time to make sure we're going outside and getting that exercise we need, and eating just a little bit healthier, and so. And these are the references.